seen it, but you can start whenever.
My name is Leah Hammer, and I'm the Director of Student Counseling at Midland University. I am humbled to be a part of this incredibly special event honoring victims and survivors of sexual assault. In a moment, I will be introducing you to one of those survivors, a brave young woman who is a hero in her own right. But first, I'd like to share with you how I came to know this young woman and how in the work that I do, I connect to this event and the work done through the bridge. Just shy of 20 years ago, I was a student at Midland pursuing a degree in psychology and interning at an organization called the Crisis Center, of which the bridge was formerly known as. I had an incredible experience there, witnessing firsthand the impact of advocacy. Advocates providing not only the basic needs such as housing, but mental and emotional needs of hearing the victims' stories and providing much needed support. I recall a mother who was more worried about the experience of her children than her own, protecting them from the knowledge of who their father was capable of being, protecting them from her reality, and fearing not for her own safety, but fearing for her children's sense of normalcy that would be disrupted. It is only now as a mother that I can understand those decisions and her reluctance to advocate for herself. My experience at the Crisis Center fostered a sense of wanting to know more about the victims, to help them to find their voice and to hear their story. There truly is so much more to a person than just their experience with violence or abuse, but why is it that victims of abuse stay with their abuser? Why is it that victims of sexual assault often feel guilty for reporting their assault? What is the emotional impact on children who have witnessed habitual violence? And why is there shame in asking for help? For those who have experienced trauma, specifically violence and abuse, there are more than just physical scars. Even more pervasive are the emotional scars that impact a person's ability, or rather inability, to talk about it. Trauma in any form leaves a person with no voice, and with no voice, you will lose your ability to share your story. In my role as Director of Student Counseling, I have the privilege of hearing the stories of our students and helping them to find their voice. Every student coming to Midland has their own story, and it's fascinating to hear about their experiences that have led them to where they are today. Good and bad, those experiences make them who they are. For students coming into college, this time is one small but very important chapter in their life story. For many, actually, college is a time when they have the opportunity to reflect on their own experiences, and it often isn't until they are away from what they have considered their norm that they are willing to share some of the chapters of their past. As important as it is to educate ourselves on the prevalence of these issues, I recall an important point that was said to me by Suzanne Smith, Director of the Bridge. She said, "It is important to educate, of course, but this event is to be about hope." Now I realize that having hope or being hopeful can be a real challenge in the midst of violence and abuse. However, what makes me hopeful is when I see what has been done to combat these issues. When I see the efforts that have been made by these amazing advocates and by the families of those impacted. Here are just a few of those examples. Bridge advocates responded to 3,789 calls for help, assisted 784 individuals with 712 children, assisted 88 individuals within 24 hours of an assault, provided safe shelter to 46 families with 65 children, provided 567 youth prevention presentations to nearly 7,000 youth. What makes me hopeful is seeing how well attended these events are, because that means that you are all advocates for change. Change is happening, and I couldn't be more proud of the survivors who are here with us. This is how I connect with this event, but I wanted to leave you all with the understanding that we can all connect in some way to the work that is being done. We can all identify with either our own personal stories or stories of a loved one. We can all identify with times when we felt we had no voice, or times when we felt that we couldn't advocate for ourselves, for times when we were vulnerable and needed to ask for help, for times when we were looking to remain hopeful when our experience felt hopeless. To recognize that No matter what, we all deserve to be treated with respect and shown that we are worthy of being loved. This young woman came into my life just over 2 years ago. Well, maybe I should say that she came barreling into my life, and for anyone who is a teammate of hers, that probably isn't surprising to you. This young woman was in a very dangerous and abusive situation and needed help. As this young woman told the horrors of her abuse, one thing was very clear. She wanted to ensure that her family was going to be okay. Like the mother I met many years ago, and like many victims of violence and abuse, she was and continues to be more concerned about the well-being of others than herself. You see, her perpetrator had convinced her that disclosing the abuse to anyone would result in danger to her family. She was calm and clear in what she wanted to happen and in what needed to happen. I just had to connect her with the resources that could make her escape from her abuser a reality. The resource that made this happen was the Advocates at the Bridge. If I have learned anything from my continued relationship with this young woman, it is that she is one of the bravest and kindest people I have ever met. This young woman graciously credits others with helping her, but what she doesn't know is that she has helped myself and many others more than she will ever know. She is the type of person that anyone would aspire to be like. This young woman is going to share her story. After years of being silenced, she has finally found her voice. And although this story has some incredibly difficult chapters, it definitely has a happy ending. And let me also assure you, this story has a hero. In recent conversation with her, I asked, "What do you hope comes from all of this?" And she said, "I want people to find someone to talk to, someone who will help them to know that they aren't damaged and that their abuse doesn't have to define them. I want people to know that they aren't broken and that with help, they will come out stronger." I asked her if she was ready for her story to be told, and she unwaveringly said, "I am going to make a difference, and if my story can help someone, then I'm going to tell it. And let me assure you, there is no doubt in my mind that she is going to make a difference." To conclude, I'd like to share a quote by Melanie Caloris. "Everyone has a story to tell, a lesson to teach, and wisdom to share. Life is a beautiful masterpiece bound together by your experiences. Open up and share your story. Become an inspiration to others. You can make a difference because you matter. You were created with purpose. Live your life with intention. Go out there and make a difference by being the difference." I'd like to introduce you to my friend and hero of this story, Cheyenne Hansen.